Okay. Shalom, Israel. This is Sister Kana. Don't look at my beat up headphones. First and foremost, I have to give all glory and praise to AHAYAH, AHAYAH, Bahashem Yashaya, Wak Qadash Rawach. Okay. Okay, guys. I wanted to do a serious conversation. Now, I don't really do live videos. I wish I knew how to do live, but maybe it's best that I don't. But I wanted to have a conversation and talk with you about what's plaguing Israel right now. As you know, and I always talk about it, you know, I'm speaking because the Most High had me to speak, and there's issues that need to be addressed before, I guess, we can come together in the wilderness. And we're at this threshold. Now, he had me always talking about the calendar. Excuse me. And finally, we have the calendar right. We're on the right holy days with the alongside the Most High. Matter of fact, this weekend is a double Sabbath. The Feast of Trumpets actually start on Shabbat at sundown. Comes in the Feast of Trumpets, and September is a very high holy day. We have so many holy days in this month, and you know, this is the things that the Most High had shown me before I had left Babylon. He wanted me to speak on these things. So now we're at 12 years later, after struggling and fighting with this holy day thing. It's on point. Praise AHAYAH Yashaya. And please watch your calendars. Make sure people don't start playing with the calendars because they think that you ain't paying attention, that they can easily buy you. So please pay attention. But that's not why I'm here today. I wanted to talk about interracial marriages. Now, this is another plague that's, now that we're off the holy days and we got that right, we have to deal with the issue of interracial marriages. Because for one, it's an abomination to the Most High. And like I've said in several videos, like, I don't know how we think we're going to come to the wilderness, holy land in Jordan, and to come back under the Lord's statutes as Lord's statutes and commandments and be coming with an abomination right off the bat. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that way. And this situation must be corrected. And the reason why I'm going to open it up, and I'll be the first to start the, just like with the calendar, this is what the Most High has me doing. So praise AHAYAH Yashaya, and let's get it right, Israel. So I wanted to go into this interracial marriage situation that's plaguing the children of Israel right now. When you go on every forum, when you go on YouTube, Google, everything is talking about interracial marriage, how black people and white people are getting married and they're so in love and they're bearing these children, and it's just a fad between Kanye West, one of the top entertainment people in the world, in which they've always used the entertainers to, guide the agenda that they wanted to push, even from the 60s up until now with Kanye West. But there's always like Sidney Poitier in the time of the 60s had an interracial marriage. They've been plaguing us with this interracial marriage thing from the beginning of time, since we got off the slave ships. I mean, they was killing our people for getting involved with but the slave owners were raping the women, beating the men, killing the men, and and even in the Bible it speaks about that. They took the wives and children and they would kill the adversary, the men, or whoever they were at war with. Okay, nothing new under the sun. So we understand, like Kanye West, the top entertainment guy making $1 billion, is married to a white woman, Kim Kardashian, this and that. And they push this stuff, madness, in our face. But the thing about it is, it's against AHAYAH. He wrote in the laws, in the book, that we are not to marry and intermingle with the Gentiles. And as you can see, you understand why. Because everybody has this wishy-washy straddling the fence opinion when it comes to marriage and love. Well, if two people love each other and, let what the Most High work together, let no man put us under, and, kind of wishy-washy stance when it comes to marriage because children are involved. So it's like, how could you, talk about breaking up a home? You're breaking up a family and there's children. And of course, the unlearned would take that stance. But now that we're waking up to the truth, we're not taking that stance. We know what's pleasing to the Most High and what's not pleasing to the Most High. And when you go into Deuteronomy, and I believe it's Deuteronomy 7, it tells us not to mingle with the other nations. So, okay, some people say, well, who are the Hittites? Who are the Jebusites? Who are the Girgashites? Who are these people today? And my stance is, regardless of who it is, who they are today, we know we are not to mingle with the Gentiles. I mean, it's clear. It's simple. The Most High laws are not grievous unto Israel. So why is it such a problem for people to understand? In order for us to come back to the Most High, we have to get his laws, his statutes, his ordinances, his judgments. We got to get them right and in order. But when you look at the Hebrew Israelite community, none of the men will even bring it up. They act like it's okay, it's an elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about because nobody wants to take ownership of responsibility of being Israel and, standing by the Most High and his laws. That's how I see it, But I'm a woman. I'm just a woman. And I recognize and realize that it's wrong. So I'm putting this out there, and I'm going to do this video in this way because I've done many. And I'll make a whole, a playlist of all the interracial videos that I've done and put them on one thing, and y'all can just look at it. And I ask that you comment. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your opinion on this and what stance are you going to take for the Most High, because it's been plaguing our community, the black community, for a very long time. But now that we know the truth, now that we know our power, AHAYAH, and his laws and his statutes and commandments, how can we not address this issue? How can we have these ongoing relationships, conversation, but we don't want to talk about what's plaguing the Israelite community with these interracial marriages, which keep us in a perpetual curse against the Most High? How can we not address it? Okay, so praise the Most High I can have this conversation, because it's something that I've always understood. I always understood it, and I'm happy to speak about it. And I praise Yashaya to give me at least a small platform to even bring it out to our people and make us have to talk about this. Because first of all, like with Elder Gocc is always lately talking about relationships. He's talking about relationships. He's talking about how to fix it, how women need to fix themselves and this and that. And I have a lot of information on this subject, praise AHAYAH, because I've always paid attention to it. And I always knew it was something that was a problem. From a young girl, I knew that the black men were kings. I knew it in my spirit. I knew it. And I always would say to myself, like, why they act like that? Like I didn't get it because it was something that I knew. I just knew it. I didn't know how I knew it, but I knew it. So I thought that they should have known, that they were kings. I always knew that they were kings and they was royalty, and I didn't understand why they were acting the way they were acting. From a kid, like I was 16, starting to realize this stuff, and I would say these things to myself. And then when I started working, because I started working at 15 years old, summer youth. They had summer youth where you can go and get a job in the summertime after school. So I always had summer youth, and I would always get these nice jobs. I started at 15, 16, 17, like that. up until I think 18 or 21, I forgot. But I always did it from the time I can remember. And I would always have these jobs that was in a corporate America. And first I was at a big army base, you know, and I learned computer. So I had to, you know, work on the computers. Then I worked for Citibank, Citicorp, American Express. You know, these are some of the jobs that I would get, you know, in these Fortune 500 companies like Exxon. So I would do data entry, you know. I learned very early, you know, and then I started working as a temp, and I would be in temp agencies working. So I always was in corporate America from a young age working, and knew like, wow, you know, they have all these big companies, but why black people don't have these companies like Exxon, you know, generating billions of dollars, but we didn't have it. So I recognized that early, you know. So I would say these things to myself. Black people, we don't have nothing. We don't have these things, you know. But, you know, I just was like, wow, you know, when we going to do, you know, so I always wanted to have my own company. You know, like growing up, I started in my 20s, I wanted to have my own companies. I wanted to do this and do that because I felt like we didn't have those things. So, I just want to let you know how it started. Like I recognized early that, you know, we didn't have anything. I didn't know why. And that black men were kings and they didn't have anything, and I didn't know why. So I knew that they were kings though. And growing up, you know, I only liked black men. I never dated a white man. I never thought they were appealing. I wouldn't even date Puerto Ricans. It was always black men. I loved them. I always had a love for them. And I thought they were, you know, good looking, and they just, you know. So, you know, I just understood it and didn't understand why they didn't know. You know, brothers, you know, drinking and getting high and you know, not really understanding their worth. So I'm saying all this to say, you know, my position on understanding that our men are kings. Now, I didn't think like, oh, I was a queen. I don't know why I wasn't thinking like I was a queen. I just knew that black men were kings. That was very important to me. That why they was acting like this, because they were kings. So I wanted to kind of touch on the subject of, you know, the responsibility of our brothers and why they need to understand. And even from the biblical days with Adam, always blaming the woman, because they really don't want to take ownership for the role that they are responsible for. Now, I'm going to give you some insight from my point of view, what I saw, and how the Most High was like, even working with me back then when I was a young girl. I noticed that, you know, like my mom would play music, and there were certain songs like, Papa was a rolling stone, wherever he laid his hat was his home. And I used to, I paid attention to that, because I used to see in our community that black men after the 60s and all that, because I was in that era, but in the 70s and the 80s, really, black men wasn't in the homes. They were sisters, women was home taking care of the family, and the black man was doing his thing. When you look at all the movies, they were portraying this. The black man was in the home. Now, the family unit was still together at this time, because this was before the women's liberation, when they used the black women against black men. This was before then. And what was going on in our community was this, that women were sitting home taking care of the family, and the black man wasn't there at the time, and he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do at that time. And so it allowed Esau, it allowed them to come in and perpetrate on the women. But women always was for the family. Women were always taking care of the home. They were always holding things down. But what happened was, after the 60s and the 70s, when men started to stray more, they wasn't in the home, that's when they came in with the woman's lid and was able to convince black women in, being, liberated, and they could do this, started giving them jobs. It was because the men wasn't safeguarding the homes from the beginning. And I'm not saying this to point the finger and start a man against woman war. I'm not saying that. But we must put things in the proper perspective so that we can heal and move on. Because it doesn't help us as a people for our brothers, our Hebrew Israelite brothers, to get on platforms and talk about how women need to do this and women need to do that when they can't even correct their own situations. We have to heal as a people, and we have to put the onus on where it belongs. Men, our brothers, have to own up to the fact that they have to take responsibility for this, and so that they can heal. Stop always pointing the finger at women, just like Adam did. It was Eve, it was Eve, it was Eve, and Eve has to get herself together, and Eve has to do this, but they will not put the onus on themselves and the responsibility that they have to take to get this house in order. So I needed to put this in perspective, because from a young girl, I realized this, that the black men were not in the homes in the 60s, in the 70s. And this is what allowed Esau and, the Willie Lynch syndrome and all this stuff able to perpetuate in our communities, because our brothers wasn't at the post. They wasn't at the gate, guarding the gate. And the sisters were vulnerable at home in the 60s before the woman was able to seep in. So putting that in perspective, sisters always wanted to take care of their families. They always wanted to take care of their men. They always, I remember, now I'm a single sister for a lot of my years. Most of my years I was single, not because I couldn't find a man, not because I didn't want a man, but because it was just like a plague to me. I had a relationship at a young age. I met mine in school at 16 years old. I got my first love, right? I was a virgin until I was 18 years old. But when I was 16, I met a young guy. And we were like inseparable. We were friends at first. We were just friends. And then by the time I get 18 and 19, he was my boyfriend. And we were inseparable. He was the love of my life. He loved me. And I think once a woman have a man who really loves them, once you know what love is and how a man's supposed to treat you, and this and that, because my mama and my father, they separated. We were at a young age, but my mom did remarry, and she had a relationship. He was our stepdad, but he was there. He was there, but he wasn't really interactive with us. He just was there protecting the home and this and that. Praise AHAYAH. But because my father wasn't really there, and there was a period where we were without our father until my mother met our stepdad. But so when I became 18 and I got into this relationship, I knew what it was. He loved me. I knew what it was to have a man who really loved me. And we were soulmates. I still believe he was my soulmate. But we separated. We broke up over time because he ended up having a drug problem. He got into drugs. Now, at first, I was trying to help him and heal him and be all this that I could be for him. But I realized very early, after a couple of years, that he's not going to change and he's going to be in this type of lifestyle. And I didn't want that for me. So we ended up separating, and he wanted to still be with me, but I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want that for my life, and he wasn't seeming like he was going to get over this. And he's still on drugs to this day. Praise AHAYAH for that he's still here. Praise the Most High, but he's been on drugs all his life. But he before he got into that, we had a friendship and ended up being together, and he was my soulmate. Like, we could bond it in such a way. And I think once you have a man, once a woman has a man, that she understands how she's supposed to be loved by a man, who protected by a man, you know, and treated by a man, it's hard to find that again. If you've dealt with your soulmate, it's hard to replace that. So that's why I never really end up getting involved again. Like, I had relationships, but you know, once I realized it wasn't the same, it always plagued me that I never really got as close to anyone else. But because of this drug thing, it was totally, I couldn't do it, you know. So I'm saying, but once you know that somehow a man should love you and in the depths of your soul, it's hard to accept anything else. And I wasn't the type of woman that could just have a man just to have a man. And I think a lot of my girlfriends would do that, like just be in a relationship with a man until the next one come along and I could never do that. I couldn't waste my time, my energy, and things like that. So I was always seeking for this kind of bond that I could never really get. But I brought that up to say that that's what part of my life. So I was basically a single a lot. And I was the type of single sister that I would give advice to my friends. They were always running the street, even my sisters and family members, I was the one they would come to because I would give them advice like, you're not supposed to act like that. You're not supposed to be partying. You're not supposed to be just as. So that whole thing about a single person can't give other people advice is rubbish, because I was that type of person. People used to come to me and I used to always try to put them in line like, no, you're supposed to take care of your house. You need to be sitting at home taking care of your kids, not running in the club like you trying to run like your man run. You can't run like your man run. You can't do the things that your man do. You know, so I was always telling, and people always come back to me because I believe it was righteous, you know, counsel that tells sisters that you can't do that. Even though you're mad because he's running around, you're not supposed to run around. You're supposed to stay in your house. But this is just going to show that I used to recognize that women were going off. And why they were going off? Because the man was already off. And this is why I can tell you I can make this kind of video, because I lived it. I knew that sisters were going astray, but they were going astray because the brothers were already astray. The brothers were already not home, not taking care. Then it was an era of women started getting jobs. And now they doing okay now. And they living a life. And they were taking care of brothers who was drug dealers on the street, holding them down like when they trying to hustle. But they would always, the sisters had jobs. So they had the apartment. They had the paying the bills. And the brother that they were dealing with was on the street hustling, but he was never home. He was always out struggling, you know, trying to make this money, sleeping around on her, other women, popping up pregnant, you know, always being disrespectful to the sister, the black woman, while she's trying to hold you down and trying to take care of the things in the house, while the brother run around, you know. So I went through that whole era of watching my sisters, my friends and family, you know, going through this era with these brothers, trying to hold these brothers down and be this sister to who's going to be his rock. And he's sisters, other women popping up pregnant, next door neighbor he's sleeping with, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. Just destructive. I watched this and I took mental notes. I understood what was going on. So it's hard for me to sit back and listen to brothers make excuses about these type of situations. Even now, talking about the interracial marriage thing, because Esau is plaguing our community with this interracial marriage, and like it's okay when it's against the Most High. And now one brother will stand up in defense of AHAYAH and his laws pertaining this thing. Now, I watched that too. I sat back and saw how brothers started going out in 80s and in the 90s, really dating outside of their race. Women always were sticking by their man. We always held it down. from the 60s up into this present day. Even the sisters that are reckless, shaking it behind on YouTube, they're only doing this because the black man is not in order. If the brothers get themselves and take ownership and get in line with AHAYAH, these sisters will fall in line. They've always been. And that's why when I watch GLCC and Elder Bacard saying, yeah, these sisters, there are some righteous sisters that saying, yeah, they can change. We've always been like that. We've always been that way. Righteous women trying to hold down the family. It was always the men running around doing whatever they wanted to do. And now it's the women are so out of control. It's because the men are so out of control. So I just really wanted to put this video and put it in perspective, and so that brothers can understand their role. You have to take account. You need to apologize, first of all, to these sisters, to the black women. And not that you need to like a simp, like they be saying men are simp because they put women on. Not in that regard, because we know you are kings. Righteous women understand you are kings. But with that responsibility comes responsibility. You have to own up to the things that were wrong so that you can correct them. If you sit back and try to act like, oh, well, we all was wrong and we just need to heal, that's the wrong perspective. As a king, you must think of King David and what King David did, because he was a righteous king in the eyes of the Most High. Even though he made some mistakes, David had the heart of the Most High. And so he would lament. He would repent to what was wrong, before the Most High, so that he can be corrected and that he can go on and be blessed in the name of AHAYAH Yashaya. So I'm saying this to say, and the interracial thing has got to stop. Our brothers have to put away these Gentiles. I mean, they are creating all this half-breed mix. Even the hair community. You can't even watch a YouTube video. There's like a handful of Judite sisters that's really black. Either they're African or they're mixed. I mean, there are some regular black sisters whose hair is growing, this and that, but it's inundated with mixed race women talking about the hair community and their plight with being with natural hair. It's unbelievable. All on YouTube. When you go, and I'll share my screen. Oof. All on YouTube. I don't know if I could find it. No, that's not there. All on YouTube, there's nothing but interracial. They're plaguing us with this interracial marriage thing. Plaguing our communities with this interracial marriage thing. So I just want to talk about it, and I want to put it in perspective because it's abomination to AHAYAH Yashaya, first of all. And we cannot move forward and get ourselves together if we cannot first own up to the fact that it's an abomination against the Most High, and we not coming back to the Most High as long as we are perpetrating this kind of behavior in his front of his face. How do you think you're going to come to the wilderness, to the holy land? He told Moses to take off your shoes, you're on holy ground. How are you going to come to this place all jacked up with interracial marriages? The Most High said, if a man purges himself, and I'll get those scriptures, I'll put them in the description box, and I paraphrase it, that you can be a blessing if he don't have to purge you. That's even better. It's more righteous that you purge yourself than he have to bring you to this wilderness and destroy you because of these kind of things. It's an abomination to AHAYAH to have married to these Gentiles. Okay, so I just wanted to play this video of a brother who's a Judite married to a white woman. And he just...
I'm back for another video today. I want to talk a little bit about marriage again. I guess I got an email the other day for someone who's asking me about interracial marriage, whether it's a good idea or not, marriage itself in general. So I guess I can speak to that again, even though I've made a couple of videos about it before in the past. Okay, so yes, my wife is white. She is blonde hair. She is blue eyes. And I'm African American, obviously. So, yeah. So that's just how I'm going to start the video. I was just saying that yes, I am married to a white woman. Now, do I recommend interracial marriage? Do I think it's a good idea? No, absolutely not. I think it's a terrible idea. You might be like, what the heck? But you're married to a white woman. Yeah, I am. But I don't know. It's more complicated than just marriage. You're talking about joining two cultures. You're talking about there's so many differences, between white and black people. Yeah. Some people say, oh no, it's just the color of the skin. It is not just the color of the skin. If anybody tells you that, it's bullshit. It's not just the color of the skin. It's two cultures, two clashing cultures. Many times, we don't understand each other's perspectives. So if we have a discussion that has to do with, whether it's music or okay, let's take music, for instance. She wants to play country music blared all day long, when we're at home. And I would blare, I don't know, I wouldn't say I blare or anything. In fact, I've actually really cut back on music. And to be honest with you guys, I really don't listen to much music. The more political that I get and learning about politics, the less I listen to music, because music, a lot of it is just crap. So I have to be extremely, extremely, extremely selective for the kind of music, hip-hop music I'm talking about, that I listen to. I can't just listen to any style of music and or any song, because I have to be really careful. I can't preach to you guys a message, and I myself don't practice, what I'm saying, what I preach. Like, I can't be talking about, oh, you shouldn't be listening to bitches and hoes, and I'm listening to bitches and hoes. No, I have to be extremely selective. And there's some good music out there that, talks about life. Locksmith, he's a really good rapper. He talks about life, whatever. So I don't want to really get too much into that. But basically, when me and my wife have a disagreement where we're talking about music, 90% of the time it's her that has the misunderstandings on hip-hop and the origins of hip-hop. Hip-hop was, in the beginning, was supposed to be kind of an outlet for young black kids, who were going through the struggles of the day, the police brutality that was actually happening during the day. I'm talking about real police brutality. They were really attacking young people. The system was all screwed up. Black people didn't feel like they had equal opportunities, and didn't. And they started making music, started expressing themselves through culture, through music, and that's how hip-hop was born. Master P and some of those guys, just amazing talents. But my wife would never, not in a million years, would she understand the black struggle and stuff like that. And I have a better grasp, because I've gotten to talk to more people. I've lived around the world. My stepdad was in the Marine Corps. We lived in Hawaii. We lived in Okinawa, around a lot of Asians. I grew up with some Filipino people, a Filipino family that helped raise me. I've been around a lot of black people, visiting family in Cleveland, Atlanta, spending months there, going to college out in Cleveland, or out in Ohio. So yeah, family down in Decatur as well, but Decatur, Georgia. But basically, I have a better understanding than she does when it comes to culture. She generally doesn't understand when it comes to cultural differences and black struggles. She'll just say, there's never been any, there's never, I don't understand why, this or that, whatever. I don't understand this, and I'll try to explain certain things to her, that there has been police profiling. I have never said that there's not been police profiling. There has been racism. I have experienced racism, My wife, the only reason why my wife would experience racism at any point is because she's married to me. But we don't really experience it as much anymore. Living out here, even living out here in Idaho, we don't really experience it as much anymore. But I have gotten some dirty stares. I have been called a nigger before, a dirty nigger other times by racist white people. But she would never understand that. So when I've seen, like, we were walking through the store with our family, right? I've gotten some stares or some hard stares before, like at Walmart or something like that. She will never see it, but I am constantly looking. Maybe it's the guy gene in me, where I'm just constantly looking, trying to protect my family. Like, it's just naturally in me, like to look around, like to have 360-degree awareness. Man, I've talked to you guys about having a 360.
Now, let me pause that for a second. Praise AHAYAH Yashaya. I mean, here's a brother who apparently he doesn't know that he's Judah and he's from the tribe of Israel and this that, but at least he's coming to the understanding, I guess through trial and error, that it's not a good idea. And even in the midst of them plaguing our communities with this behavior, it's mainly because it's against AHAYAH. He told us not to mix with the other nations. And if we start to be completely honest with ourselves, they are bombarding us with this interracial thing. Why? Because Esau is against AHAYAH. And anything having to do with his law, Esau is doing the opposite. That's why we are plagued right now with this interracial marriage thing. But AHAYAH says it's an abomination. Let me go into the scriptures really fast on this, so that when you go to Ezra in the Bible, not even talking about the Apocrypha, we're talking about Ezra in the Bible. It's the same Ezra who wrote those books. The Ezras in the scriptures, in the Apocrypha, is the same Ezra that wrote these scriptures on interracial relationships and how it's an abomination to AHAYAH. And I'm just going to read a few lines from Ezra 9:1, but you can read the whole story so you can see. And then you can go into Jubilees and see how the Most High feels, how abominable it is for us as a people to be married to the Gentiles. Not that we're not going to be amongst the Gentiles, is not going to be amongst us. Not saying that. I don't abhor Edom. I have most of my friends are Gentiles. I have a lot of Gentile friends. I'm not against them. But we're not to marry them. And we're not to be joining together with them and having children. They will be in the kingdom with us. They will partake in this salvation with us, the ones who are called by AHAYAH's name. So I would never hate a Gentile or be against them, but we are not to be married with them. Okay, Ezra 9:1. Now when these things were done, the princes came to me saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, its abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. These are all the nations. These are the other, whether they know it or not, whether they ascribe to who they are, these are the other nations of the earth, and we are not to, it's an abomination. 9:2, for they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. We are holy unto the Most High. We are not to be gathered to them. Yea, the hand of the princes and the rulers have been chief in this trespass. And he's saying all the men have done this. Most of the princes and the rulers, that's all the elders of the churches, the pastors, the leaders that in Israel at this time was all dealing with Gentiles. And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle and plucked off the hairs of my head and of my beard. Ezra plucked the hairs off his beard and his head when when it was brought to his attention. and sat down astounded. He was astonished by this. He couldn't believe it. 9 and 4. Then were assembled unto me every one that trembled at the words of AHAYAH of Israel, because of the transgression of those who had been carried away. And I sat astounded until the evening sacrifice. All day he was shocked. 5. And at the evening sacrifice I rose up from my heaviness, and having rent my garment and my mantle, I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands unto AHAYAH, our power, my power, and said, "Oh, AHAYAH, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to thee." He was embarrassed to even pray to the Most High. This is how righteous the men in these days was. But today, our brothers don't even care. And these are elders in the churches of a Hebrew Israelites. They don't even care. And I'm not just talking about GLCC. I'm talking about all the men. This is the scriptures. This is the Bible that I'm going into. They doing classes every day. They reading these scriptures and they skipping over this stuff like it's okay. Just like they did with the calendar. When I first had to do videos on the calendar, it's always something with these brothers not wanting to keep the law of the Most High. Why? What's the problem? Why do the Most High have to put a sister up to speak on these things concerning his law? When you got all these Israelite groups, these men making videos, speaking the word, but they will not touch on this information, and they will not clean the house of Israel. Why? Oh, my power, I am ashamed and blush to lift my face to thee, O AHAYAH. For our iniquities are increased over our head, and our trespasses is grown up into the heavens. Since the days of our fathers have we been in great trespass until this day, even now, even today. And for our iniquities our kings and our priests, been delivered into the hands of the kings of the lands, to the sword, to captivity, and to spoil, and to confusion of face. It is this day. So what you want to understand why our brothers are still stuck in Babylon, why they ain't coming out, why does Esau still have a hold on them, that the men of the Most High are not coming out like they're supposed to? They're in violation of the Most High, AHAYAH. They're still having these Gentile heathen men and women among them intermingled in marriage. It's an abomination. You cannot come before the face of the Most High with this nonsense. And now, for a little space, grace hath been showed from AHAYAH, our power, to leave us a remnant to escape. He's given you a chance, and to give us a nail in his holy place. For our power, AHAYAH, may lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage. He's trying to tell you, he's trying to give you the reason why things are being held the way they are being held up. He's going to give you an opportunity. And I know, because I've been talking about this. Clean the house of Israel. Remove the Gentiles out of the marriages of Israel. They are holy people. You got to do right by the Most High. For we were bondmen, yet our power, AHAYAH, have not forsaken us in our bondage, but have extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of AHAYAH, and to repair the desolations thereof, and to give us a wall in Judah and in Jerusalem. He's still being merciful. He was still being merciful, and he's still being merciful today, because although he's trying to redeem the children of Israel, and he's trying to get us right, he haven't, for this cause, he could have got rid of us altogether. But he's still sending out somebody to speak on his behalf to tell you what the violation is. There's a violation, Israel. It's an abomination to the Most High for us to be married to the other nations. And it's not that he don't like the other nations, because he said he's going to take out a remnant for his name's sake. We just not supposed to be married and having children with the other nations. You got to put away this abomination. And now our power what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken thy commandments. It's in the commandment, guys. We're breaking the commandments, which thou hast commanded by the servants, the prophets, saying, the land unto which ye go to possess it is an unclean land, with the filthiness of the people of the lands, with their abominations. We have filled it from one end to another with their uncleanness. It's unclean, brothers. Cleanse the house of Israel. And I'm not just talking about GOC, but GOCC, if you're supposed to be after the covenant of Yashaya, this is the word, brother. If you're supposed to be following Yashaya, this is it. We have to put away the Gentiles from among us in marriage and in children. You got to do it, Now, therefore, give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace, nor their wealth forever, that ye may be strong and eat the good of the land and leave it for an inheritance to your own children forever. Okay? Forever. You're not supposed to do it, and we're in violation to the Most High. And after all that is come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great trespass, seeing that thou, our AHAYAH, has punished us less than our iniquities deserved, and has given us such deliverance as this. He's still being merciful, Israel. He's still trying to work with you, despite you have not learned the lessons of your forefathers. This is why we've gone into captivities. We refuse to do what's right according to AHAYAH. We have to put away these Gentiles and these heathen and the children. You got to put them away. You must teach it. You must command that these brothers get right. And so instead of you working so hard on the sisters, get these brothers right. Listen, the daughters of Zion will gladly fall in line. Even watching Elder Gocc talking about it and the sisters calling in. We've always been like that. We've always wanted to be for our families and our men. So don't act like it's such a big surprise that these sisters are willing. They've always been willing. And I can speak on the behalf of the daughters of Zion because I've watched it all my life. I've watched sisters. And I'm not saying these daughters of Zion don't have issues and they don't need to be fixed. And yes, they do. Because usually they're attacking me. When they're off, they usually attack other sisters. But for the most part, sisters have always been about their man and their house and trying to hold this thing down. They're only out of order because the men in this whole society is out of order. But the daughters of Zion have always tried to hold down their household and their men. So, and you wouldn't have to teach these sisters like the way you're trying to push. If you get the men in order and they put away these Gentiles and they marry the daughters of Zion. They're the apple of the Most High's eye too. And according to scriptures, an Israelite married to a heathen, the child is a mamzer, a bastard. That's the real meaning of a bastard, is an Israelite mingling and marrying a Gentile, and the offsprings are called mamzers. They're bastards. That's why the scripture said there's a bastard dwelling in Ashdod too, because they're not of the royal seed, and neither is a mixed child coming from an Israelite and a heathen. It's mixed, and it's no good to the Most High. It's a bastard, a mamzer. So understanding this, we have to put away. You have to do it. It's not even no call. Now, I've talked to Israelites. Everybody feels the same way. Oh, but there's women and children. And what about the children? Brothers have been doing away with sisters and their kids, leaving them with no problem. And I've said this in many videos. with no problem at all. They will walk away from a sister and her children with no problem. But now all of a sudden, when it comes to Gentiles and heathens, they just, oh, it's so unethical that you put away a heathen because the Most High said it's an abomination. That's a problem. But you've been doing away with your Judite sisters and your kids for years upon years upon years. And I've said this over and over in a video, but I'm going to say it again. You brothers have been leaving your wives and children of Judite descent with no problem. But now all of a sudden, you have such morals and ethics that you can't put away these Gentiles for the name of AHAYAH or AHAYAH. How backwards is that? Now, I love you, brothers. I have nothing. I'm not against you. But the truth needs to be spoken and ring in your spirit that you do what's right. And you call other brothers to do what's right. You won't have an issue with these sisters if the brothers step up and do what they have to do for their Israelite family, for our nation. This is about nation building. And you can't build a nation with mamzars. A lot of the elders, a lot of these brothers are married to these half black, half white sisters. They look good and everything, but as far as the kingdom, it's useless. It's useless, brothers. Because the Most High, he don't even raise up the prophets that are mingled and mixed like that. You don't never hear of them. Nothing, no greatness, nothing. So I'm urging Israel, and I'm glad I'm able to keep this at a decent pace, and hopefully I got my point across. This is scripture. You can't act like you're so holy and trying to keep the laws, and when you on the feast days looking across the table at these Israelites married to these Gentiles, and you could try to say, oh, it ain't me, and oh, it's an abomination. And do I have to go into Jubilees and talk about how the Most High said it's a curse that if one is married to a Gentile, it's a curse on the whole nation of Israel. We're still under a curse. We're being plagued. Why? And that's why Israel is not making it out. And you will die in this sin. You will die in this sin. If you don't correct it, stand up and correct it, you will die in this sin. The Most High is the power of order and of law. He said, keep my statutes, my commandments, my ordinance, and my judgments. So you cannot go and be complacent with Israelites married to Gentiles. That's an abomination before AHAYAH. So I just wanted to bring this out again and drive it home, because you're trying to fix the daughters of Zion. You know how you can fix the daughters of Zion? Put the men back into the houses. They have to put away those Gentiles, those mixed mamzers, the bastards among them, put them away, and the children, and they must come back to their tribes. Which, since I'm bringing this up, I'm working on my website. It's almost done. Praise AHAYAH Bahashim Yashaya, Hebrewism. And on that site, I have AHAYAH Singles, which is dedicated to bringing the tribes together. Marriage within your tribe. I know everybody don't know what tribe they're from, because now all of a sudden, since everybody's a Israelite now. You got people from all over now. They're talking about they're Israelite. Before, nobody wanted to be black, or nobody wanted to be a minority. Now everybody want to be a minority. But so for those who all of a sudden now they don't know. Before, everybody knew, oh, I'm black. I'm mixed with Indian. Oh, I'm this. I'm Europe. I'm this. Now nobody want to own up to being a mamza. Nobody wants to know. But you know that you got a black and white father and mother. You know that your father was a Edomite You know that your mother was an Edomite, but they don't want to say nothing now. So again, if our brothers would do right by AHAYAH and put away those Gentiles and heathens and not be married to them, and marry the daughters of Zion like it's supposed to be, your Judite sisters, your Benjamite sisters, your Levite sisters, your Puerto Rican sisters, marry your own tribe. So that way when we get back into the wilderness, the Most High can give us, start divvying up amongst the tribes, you know, our parts of our salvation. He's going to do it. But Israel has to get in order first. The men have to get in order. Get yourselves together, brothers. Stop with the nonsense. Stop making excuses like our forefather Adam did. Eve, it was Eve. When the Most High gave the instruction, he gave the law to you. Get your house in order. Stop making excuses. And I'm only saying this because I love you. I know you're kings. But trust, you ain't coming back to the Most High unless you clean it up the house and get right with him. This is for him. It's, yeah, the daughters of Zion will benefit because they're queens too, and they're righteous in his eyes too. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be a whole bunch of Judite sisters single with no man. And these congregations is full with mixed marriages and sisters who are mamzers, who are half black, half white. You know who they are. And all the other rest of the congregations, these sisters got kids and their man ain't there. You brothers got to do right. Y'all have to step up, do right. Find a woman within your tribe, just like Tobit, just like Ezra's talking about, just like the book of Jubilees, just like our forefather Jacob had to do, just like Ishmael. I mean, I'm not, sorry, not Ishmael. Isaac, his father sent the servant out far to make sure he had a wife within his tribe, within his family. That's the law. We must keep the law. And you wouldn't have to be browbeating the women about getting in order if they had a husband of their tribe over, you know, learning under you and put his wife in order. It's simple. You wouldn't have to browbeat the women. Praise AHAYAH, Bahasham Yashaya. Isn't that wonderful? Praise AHAYAH. Just do things in decency and order, and you wouldn't have to all the trouble. Get the men in order. And I'm talking about GLCC for one, because they're the only ones who are actually talking about, I mean, just talking, even though it's just talk, coming out of Babylon. Because the other tribes, you know, they're not even thinking about coming out of Babylon. They ain't even talking about it. But at least with GLCC, they're talking about it. It's talk. Blah, 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 blah. So if you're trying to at least act like you're trying to keep the laws, the statutes, and commandments of AHAYAH in the name of Yashaya and the covenants, and as the disciples did it. Was the disciples married, mixed marriages, or, you know, was a bunch of mixed marriages going on with the disciples? Is that what it is? Was Christ was Christ owning up to mixed marriages? I wonder. So I'm thankful. I'm so thankful. Praise AHAYAH, that the Most High would even use me, that he would consider me a daughter of Zion, that I would have a platform to speak on the things pertaining to him. Even in the midst of a woman shouldn't speak. But the Most High would have to use a woman in a time of trouble, when there is a plague amongst the house of Israel and an abomination within the midst, when he's trying to call back his people and call them out of bondage. But they refuse to put down the sins of the Gentiles. We refuse. Our brothers refuse to put away them Gentiles. They just love them Gentile women. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know the daughters of Zion, we ain't feminine enough. We don't talk sweet enough. We don't do, we got weaves in our hair and our hair is nappy. But guess what? AHAYAH, he loves us. He loves the daughters of Zion. We are the apple of his eye. Praise AHAYAH. He's a righteous power. With all our imperfections, he loves the daughters of Zion. We are wonderful in his eyes. He even will use a daughter of Zion in this time to speak on his behalf. Praise AHAYAH. Yada AHAYAH Bahashmishaya. Qadash Rawach. I just give glory and praise to AHAYAH. Thank you, AHAYAH. Thank you, Abba. I could cry right now. Praise AHAYAH. He's so merciful. Daughters of Zion, hold on, because he loves us. Stay true, sisters. You are the apple of AHAYAH's eye. He chose us. Just like he chose the men of the Most High, he chose us too. And he loves us. Nappy hair. He knew we would have hair weaves at this time. Our dark skin. He loves us, y'all. And I'm just here to just let you know that the men, they must put away those Gentiles, those mamzers. Those mamzers. Let's look it up in the eastward. A bastard. Let's look it up. Praise AHAYAH Bahashmishaya. A bastard is H4464. Mamzer. A mamzer. Let me put it here. What's a mamzer? If y'all can see down here, unused root, to alienate a mongrel that is born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother. Bastard. And then there's another one that says, or vice versa, or the reverse. A Jewish mother, a Jewite mother and heathen father, or a Jewish father and a heathen mother. So even the children among them are abomination. So we got these brothers and sisters who claiming to be Israel, and they got, mixed families. And, I don't have a problem, I'm not angry. I'm not nothing. I don't dislike, mixed people or anything like that. They're nice people, and praise AHAYAH for them, but they're just not Israel. They're considered bastards, and the Most High considered abomination. That's it. That's as simple as it gets. There's no mad at anybody, not angry, not jealous, not nothing. Just want to do right in the eyes of AHAYAH, AHAYAH. Who is going to stand up for the Most High? Who? So I just wanted, when you look at YouTube, it's inundated with all these biracial relationships. Everybody's married to opposite, and it just so happens to be against the law. So y'all can see, I hope you can see my screen. It happens to be an abomination against AHAYAH, the power of Israel. All these interracial marriages, one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. It's inundated YouTube with this behavior. Why? Because they hate the Most High. They hate the Most High. But Israel, we love the Most High. We're supposed to love the Most High. So he said the first commandment is love AHAYAH with all your heart, with all your mind and all your soul. So how can you say that you love him and you tolerate this kind of behavior when he hates it? It's an abomination. We have to cleanse the house of Israel. We have to put away the Gentiles for marriage. We have to do it, y'all. And then the daughters of Zion would be married to within their tribes. And you don't have to, you just instruct the brothers and the women will fall in line. Put the woman back with her husband. She will obey you. The daughter of Zion, they love the Most High and they love the men of the Most High. They want to do what's right. It's in us. We've always loved the men of the Most High. We never wanted to be against our men. And that's why the daughters of Zion are, yes, we're with it. Clean up the house of Israel. We'll fall right in line. We've always done it. We've always kept our houses together, even when our men weren't there. Praise AHAYAH. So all you got to do is clean the house of Israel. Get these Gentiles out of the midst of Israel in marriage and in children. And bring it back to where it's supposed to be so that AHAYAH can be pleased with us. He can accept our offerings. He can hear our prayers. How could we say that we Israelites and we coming back to the Most High and we are committing abominations right before his face, before his holy face, before his holiness? He's a holy power. He wants righteousness. All he wants us to do is to do what's right. Israel, we have to. Our brothers, you got to put away the Gentiles before the Most High's face. It's an abomination to him. It's disrespectful to him. Do it for AHAYAH. Love AHAYAH with all your heart. Build the nation of Israel. We got to work on this thing, Israel. Gentiles, you know, and I realized like Gentiles had more respect for the Most High than even Israel. I've met a lot of people who are married, Gentiles who are married to Israel, who are willing to do what's right. They want to step up and leave. Even before Israel is willing to put them away, the Gentile will be like, they're willing to go. And you know what? I watch these videos. You know, these people generally love each other. They find somebody that they love. They, you know, and it's sad. But we're not supposed to do it. We're not supposed to do it, Israel. Put it away. We have to put away these Gentiles. It's sad. Sad, but it's okay. Because a lot of Judite women are sitting around with no man, 5 and 6 and 4 and 2, 3 kids, and they don't have a husband. That's sad too. I feel sad for my sisters having to raise these kids by themselves. Struggling, working 2 and 3 jobs. The kids have to suffer, all because there's no man in the house. That's sad. That's even sadder than our brothers having to leave the Gentiles. I feel more remorse. I feel more sad for my sisters who have no husband, that's praying for a husband. They're crying out to the Most High for a husband. And that's probably why the Most High put it on my spirit to have to make these videos, because the cries of the daughters of Zion, they're crying. They're crying out. They want to be married. They want to have a family. They want to take care of their husband. They want to do right. So I urge the men of the Most High, do what's right in the eyes. You know, even if you don't have no real love for the daughters of Zion, because a lot of our brothers don't. They don't sympathize with the sisters. They don't have no real love and remorse for our sisters. And that's why they act the way they act. But it's okay because of the curses. Some of these brothers are really, in their spirit, kind of mean to the daughters of Zion. But it's okay. The Most High going to fix all that. All that's going to be fixed. Just do what's right in the eyes of AHAYAH. Because he's hearing the cries of the daughter of Zion. They yearn and they're calling out for their husbands. They want to do right by their husbands. But the Israel community is plagued with interracial marriages. And I'm not just talking about within GOCC. All of the Israelites groups, they condone it. They speak highly of it, that they got Gentiles and they got other nations. Fix it. Praise the AHAYAH. The daughters of Zion are crying out, and the Most High is putting forth a call to the men of the Most High to fix his house, because you ain't coming into the wilderness anyway with it. So you're going to have to fix it. So you ain't got to do it for the daughters of Zion. You need to do it because you love AHAYAH with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. You trying to do right by the Most High. That's why you should fix it. Keep the commands, the laws and statutes of AHAYAH, because he made a decree that you must put away the Gentiles from among you, the ones that are married and have children, and marry the daughters of your father's house. It's simple. Easy fix. AHAYAH is simple, ain't he? He's amazing. He always got a solution. When we think stuff is just so hard, praise the Yashaya. He has a simple solution. So, praise AHAYAH. I don't mind doing this kind of videos. I thank the Most High. I thank the Most High that he always had it on my spirit about marriage. He always had it on my spirit about the black men are kings and that they're royal and they're holy to him. So now we're going to show him how holy we can be, how righteous we can be, how on one accord, how the men, he's dealing with the men. AHAYAH is dealing with the men. Brothers, get it right. I know you can do this. I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you. You can get this right. I know you can do it. You are kings. AHAYAH is dealing with the men. Praise AHAYAH B'Hashem Yashaya. Praise AHAYAH B'Hashem Yashaya. So this is just a journey, another journey that he has me on. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here in this time. I'm so excited to be where I am in Jordan, waiting on the children of Israel. I know you're coming eventually. Praise AHAYAH. I pray that you're coming out of Babylon. You're making your way out. You're not being deceived. The scales are off your eyes. You know that there's infiltration, that you know you need to go. Oh, we're going to be in the wilderness. And although it's a lot that needs to happen, a lot of cleanses that's going to have to go on, but we're on our way. And once the brothers get through this, I know the men can do it. Once we get past this, and there's a decree that the brothers start to put away the Gentiles out from amongst us in marriage with these children and start to get with the house of their fathers. Daughters of Zions will be happy. They'll be married. They'll have a husband, and they can do what's right. Oh, I know AHAYAH is just right now. They just woo in the heavens right now. I just know it. Because the Most High will be so happy if Israel would do right, if the men would do right by him. The flock are men. Praise AHAYAH. So sisters, let's do some heavy praying right now. This whole month of September, we're going into the Feast of Trumpets. I'm sounding the trumpet right now. This is a trumpet. Israel, get it in order. Get your house in order. Put away the Gentiles from among you in marriage. Join yourself to the daughters of Zion. Oh, this is a trumpet being blown. Then we're going to have the Feast of Day of Atonement. Then you can repent. We're right on time. The 7th month, we are right on time. Praise the AHAYAH. Atone for this sin. Put away these Gentiles and atone. Repent. Lament to the Most High. Put down that wickedness. Praise AHAYAH. Praise AHAYAH B'Hashem. No more abominations before AHAYAH. I'm so excited. Then we're going to go on the Feast of Tabernacle. We're going to dwell in tents. We're going to get that. Ooh, you know when you dwell in tents and you be outside for that, that's 8 days. The Most High be opening up the understanding. He be pouring out the blessing on Israel. When we sleeping out at night during that week, oh, that's an amazing time. So praise the high Yashaya. We on the right track with the calendar. Now we're going to fix this stuff with putting away these Gentiles, joining themselves with the righteous daughters of Zion. This is an amazing time. I know Elder Gocc can do what's right. I know it. I know that brother could stand up and do what's right by the Most High, because the flock are men. Praise AHAYAH. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see this thing manifest. I can't wait. And I can't wait to see the daughters of Zion being happy, being married. It ain't going to be no more statistics. Listen, Esau, it's going to be all on the news. It's going to be in the news. At CNN, ABC, they're going to be talking about there's a phenomenon going on. The black men are going back to the black women. Woohoo! Because they trying to perpetuate all on. Look at this. They try to perpetuate this interracial thing like it is the new black. This is the new black. This is the new black. Look, with the interracial daughter. She got the nice curly hair. She's so cute. Praise AHAYAH. It's an abomination. And he said no. And the daughters of Zion. Sisters, I want to hear your comments. Because I know a lot of sisters, and us, the daughters of Zion are so loving and so kind. Like I've spoke to sisters and they was like, well, they to break up a family. They said, to break up a family, I don't know, and I said, well, it's in the law, it's in the law in Deuteronomy, I think it's 7. I'm going to go there in a minute. And I said, we have to, but here she is, 3 kids and no man. And she talk about, I don't know. They so loving. The daughters of Zion, so selfless. They still willing to be like, they're so, I don't want to break up another home. But their home is broken. They ain't got no man, been without a man for years. But they still thinking about other people. That's selfless. That's love. So nobody can tell me about the daughters of Zion. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been through a lot. And I'm not saying that some of these sisters ain't a hot mess. Yes. I'm not saying that. Sisters, you need to get yourself together. The bad attitude, the ratchetness, all that stuff, it's got to stop. But the righteous ones who understand, who know, trying to live right, we've always had that in us. We've always been the ones holding it down. So praise AHAYAH, And now the Most High is going to redeem the daughters of Zion. There are righteous sisters in this earth. And I praise AHAYAH for him even giving me just a little bit, and that I can speak and talk and speak to the spirit of the men of the Most High. And I know they want to do right. I know these brothers can do it. Because the flock are men, and y'all can do it. You can put it in perspective. Let these brothers know what they need to do, and I'm sure they'll do it. I know these brothers want to do what's right. I know that if they know that the Most High is an abomination to him, they don't want nothing to do with it. They'll put these sisters away, put these Gentiles away like that. Just make the decree. Praise AHAYAH. Oh, praise AHAYAH Yashaya. He is merciful. He could have destroyed us a long time ago. He's still giving us chance after chance to do what's right before him. So I say, all glory and praise to AHAYAH, Yashaya. I pray you received this message. I pray that I'm sharing my screen, that you can see all the ratchetness that they are portraying on YouTube with this interracial marriage things. It's inundated. And I mean, look at the beautiful sisters. They're interracial. They have black, have white, got the long hair, their beautiful complexion. Most of them. But in the eyes of the Most High, it means nothing. He doesn't adorn in none of that. He likes the daughters of Zion. And I'm so thankful. And with our black skin and nappy hair, we are the chosen ones. To be chosen amongst them. Like this world never chose us. Even though, yeah, we was always the one, you know, sacrificing, and on the backs of us, this thing was built, you know, killing off our men and degrading our men and then disrespecting the women. It's always. And then they choose the other nations over us, you know, the lighter skinned women. And but AHAYAH, he like dark skinned women. He like nappy hair. Even though my head is covered, he like my hair. He thinks I'm beautiful. I'm so happy. You know, with the world, you know, they'll go to this. This sister, beautiful sister. You know, I have nothing against my sister, beautiful sister. But the Most High, AHAYAH, he thinks I'm beautiful. You know, he thinks Judah is beautiful. He thinks Levi is beautiful. He thinks our sisters over in Africa with the short hair and nappy hair, that's beautiful. Because we look like him. I'm like that too, nappy hair. Shrink up to like this. Praise AHAYAH. I'm so happy to be his. Ugh, I'm so happy to be his. Okay, so I gotta go, guys. I pray you comment, you leave a message, you share this video so that, you know, other daughters of Zion could understand what's happening. Get your house in order. Get ready, ladies, because your husband is coming. Because Most High is going to move and shuffle all this stuff around. And he's going to cause the men of the Most High to do what's right in his eyes. No more abominations. Put away the abominations, brothers. The flock are men. Shalom. I give all glory and praise to AHAYAH AHAYAH, Bahashim Yashaya, Wa Qadash Rawach. See you. Bye. Mwah! I'm so happy.